Hi everyone and welcome back to Bonnie Astrology. Today we're discussing the lunar eclipse happening in the sign of Libra on the 25th of March 2024 and of course what it means for your zodiac sign. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like. You can also subscribe to me on all my socials listed below, and if you want to book any kind of astrological service with me, the information listed in the description box is the only place that you can get me. So I'm going to be going into the astrology of this lunar eclipse and what it means collectively, the different themes that are coming up, and then I will go into what it means for each of the individual zodiac signs. And for those horoscopes, it is best and suggested to watch your rising sign. However, some people do, for whatever reason, resonate more with the sun, and you can also, as this is a lunar eclipse, dip in and look at your moon sign. You can watch all three horoscopes for the most accuracy in terms of the themes that may be presenting themselves to you under this lunar eclipse. So astrologically speaking, lunar eclipses are full moons on steroids. And in the Aries Libra cycle of eclipses that began in the spring of 2023, this is actually the only lunar eclipse that is happening. The rest will be solar eclipses. So this one is quite important even though it is partial. The reason lunar eclipses are regarded as full moons on steroids is because eclipses themselves are particularly fated. They tend to coincide with life's huge events, destined events, events that you remember throughout your life, whether that is that you're getting married, you meet the love of your life, whether that is that you're getting divorced, whether you're separating. And the reason that I note those themes in particular is because this lunar eclipse is happening in the sign of Libra, and Libra actually rules relationships and marriages. So one of the themes that may be coming up under this lunar eclipse are changes in your relationship life. Now this can be many different things for many different people. And with lunar eclipses, if they are not touching a part of your chart, you may find that you're more of an observer of other people's eclipse stories rather than experiencing one of your own. So you may notice with this particular eclipse that perhaps someone around you is getting married or getting a divorce, or you might find that a friend of yours is meeting the love of their life. Again, I'm using the Libra themes for this particular eclipse, but if it's not hitting your chart, you may not necessarily be so impacted with this. If you have personal placements at 5 degrees of Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer, you will be feeling this the most, especially if it's 5 degrees of Libra. But you can widen that to 4, 5, 6 degrees of Libra, and some astrologers go as far as 5 to 10 degrees either side. But I would say that the closer it is to 5, the more impactful it is for you, particularly if it's happening on a personal planet. So Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, or the angles. So the ascendant, the descendant, the midheaven, for example, or the IC. But you may be finding that this eclipse is not necessarily impacting you too much, and you're more of an observer of what's going on in other people's lives. Lunar eclipses are of course focused on the full moon cycle because lunar eclipses coincide with full moons, and this particular eclipse is actually happening on a Monday, which adds to the sense of lunar activity and emphasis on the lunar eclipse. Now a lunar eclipse in itself would be important, but the fact this is happening on a Monday makes it extra emotional because Monday is ruled by the moon. And you may want to, at the time of this eclipse, check the Cancerian part of your chart as well as the Libra part of your chart. So if you look up your birth chart, you pull up your birth chart, you note what house Cancer is and you notice what house Libra is, and you may notice significant themes occurring in both, as well as the Aries part of your chart too. Especially as we lead into April when we have an Aries solar eclipse that is total and incredibly significant. So you may find that these are the houses that are very highlighted to you in eclipse season. The solar eclipse in April will also bring up the Leo house in your chart. Now, lunar eclipses tend to bring endings, they bring culminations, but they also bring manifestations. And this particular degree, the Sabian symbol for Libra, now with Sabian symbols we always round up in degrees, so we're looking at 6 degrees of Libra for this, but this Sabian symbol is the need to visualize clearly one's dreams or ideals in order to make them truly effectual. Now, as I say, lunar eclipses can be the manifestation of things. And manifestation is basically the visible form that our thoughts have been taking behind the scenes for long periods of time, where we've been putting our attention and what comes as a result of those. And this Sabian symbol is bringing that back to our awareness, that a lot of the time what we're focusing on, what we're visualizing internally, does tend to manifest externally. And you can look at that from a perspective of magic and being able to dream things into reality, or you can look at it from a practical sense that is saying you've thought about it a lot, so you've likely acted on it and it has impacted your actions, and there's this cause, this chain of causation. So either way, whether you're looking at it from a mystical magical perspective or a practical magic perspective, because magic is the art of creation, you may find that this lunar eclipse is actually showing you what you have been manifesting. So you may find that that's a wonderful thing. Maybe some people have been manifesting a relationship and it materializes under this full moon. Maybe some have been manifesting an engagement, and maybe some have actually wanted to get out of a relationship and have been hoping for that too. You know, it depends on different people and where they are at, but this particular lunar eclipse can be a point of manifestation of what you yourself have been visualizing. So it's a great time to check in with whether or not that is working for you, whether it's serving you or whether it's actually happening to your detriment, whether your own thoughts are creating realities you do not want for yourself. And that brings us back to understand the power of visualization and what our dominant thoughts are and how we get what we imagine, basically. Particularly actually because this lunar eclipse is ruled by Venus in Pisces, and Pisces is all about the imagination. Pisces is all about visualization, manifestation. And the full moon always is a manifestation of our past intentions, but a lunar eclipse in particular makes this a bigger storyline in our lives. It tends to make it more important, more significant, whatever is happening around this time. So there could absolutely, for a lot of people, be fated happenings in their relationship life, whether that is a divorce for one person or meeting the love of their life for another. It can absolutely feel very fated and very destined, whatever is occurring, and something that you will absolutely remember years from now. In the sign of Libra, this does bring the focus to relationships, partnerships, but also legal matters, the law and the legal system. And so these may be themes that are coming up around the time of the lunar eclipse in the collective, whether that is that we are noticing a significant celebrity relationship ending, whether the laws surrounding marriage are changing, whether there is some sort of legal case coming to our attention. And matters of peace, matters of negotiation, matters of balance can be coming up at the time of this lunar eclipse. And interestingly enough, with the theme of Libra, we may be becoming quite aware of where we are keeping the peace to our detriment, where we are people pleasing. And a lot of people find with Libra energy, if they have a personal Libra placement, that they try to focus on people pleasing, or they try to focus on keeping the peace. For whatever reason, some focus on conflict avoidance, and this lunar eclipse can possibly show you where that is no longer effectual, whether that is not working for you in your relationships, not working for you, it's not necessarily working for the other person either. So with this lunar eclipse, you may be wanting to change and let go of some relationship patterns. Now, this is particularly true because this lunar eclipse is actually in a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto in Aquarius is relatively recent. It did begin in March 2023. It was there for a very short period of time, and then it came back this year. We'll move out of Aquarius again for a short period of time too, but this is emphasizing the Pluto in Aquarius story. This is where we're wanting to make changes for our future. Now, the trine to Pluto means that we can make positive, supportive changes. We may feel empowered to break patterns, to break cycles when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love, when it comes to themes of marriage and significant commitments in our lives, when it comes to fairness, and when it comes to balance in relationships too. So for a lot of people, this can be an opportunity to release a relationship that doesn't align with your vision for the future, because Aquarius is the future. It can be where you're ready to break a pattern in relationships that you don't want to repeat any longer. And it may even be about connecting with people, whether this is romantic or not, connecting with people who are part of your soul tribe. And what I mean by that is that They feel familiar, they feel compatible, you feel like you have similar visions for your lives, you feel as though you want similar things, you have similar interests, you may have similar belief systems, but you feel very supported in the relationships that you're connecting with. It's likely that if you meet someone romantically, you may have a similar vision for the future. It may be that if you're making a new best friend, they feel like you've known them forever. Eclipses tend to be very fated and destined. And because this is a South Node eclipse, you may actually connect with people who feel exceptionally familiar because you have a past life story. And similarly, again, with the South Node, some of you may want to release relationships that don't align with your vision for the future anymore, which is always changing while Pluto's in Aquarius. And for some, this could be friendships, because Pluto in Aquarius is about releasing friends where there are maybe power struggles, where there are maybe toxic dynamics playing out for both of you. You feel like you're on a loop with the same issues. This is the lunar eclipse to break that pattern. As the ruler of this eclipse is Venus, and Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces, this does add a sense of everything occurring for our best interests. It feels as though this is fated, it feels as though it's meant to be, it feels as though we are doing something relationship-wise that does serve a greater purpose. We feel very aligned with it. This can mean that releasing a relationship actually feels like it's time. You feel like you have closure. It can also be if you meet someone, it feels like it is meant to be. But whatever is happening in your relationship life, or even legally, or in terms of relationship dynamics in your life, or where this eclipse is falling in your chart, it does feel as though something about this is just simply meant to be. It's meant to happen. It is time. Venus is conjunct Saturn, which adds a sense of responsibility and seriousness to relationship dynamics. And whether that means that you're going to commit to a relationship, whether that means that you're going to exit a relationship, there is a sense of responsibility and duty to do it the right way, whatever that looks like for you. So as always, I'm going to pull a tarot card for this lunar eclipse in Libra as an accompaniment to the astrology to get any additional messages that may have been missed for this lunar eclipse. Do let me know where this is happening in your chart. If you have any personal placements at 5 degrees, 4, 5, 6 degrees of Libra particularly, do let me know in the comments section. And let's see what this full moon wants us to know, this lunar eclipse wants us to know. The World. End of a chapter. Wow, that's pretty significant with the lunar eclipse. So, end of a chapter, achievement, success, a sense of belonging, accomplishment, integration, wholeness, fulfillment, and travel. So this lunar eclipse is wrapping up a particular cycle. It's wrapping up a particular chapter. The World card is associated with Saturn, and as the ruler of this full moon, Venus is next to Saturn. It does feel as though there is a sense of accomplishment. Something has been achieved. A commitment has been fulfilled. There may be promise of more commitment in your life to something new. This is the time to wrap up one particular cycle and begin another. And what was underneath the deck? We had the Four of Wands, which is celebrating union, community support, united, lover returns, homecoming party celebration, and weddings. So there could be a lot of engagements, weddings, new relationships pop up around this time. The lover returns is interesting because it is a South Node eclipse in Libra. So for some people it might be reuniting with an ex, and for other people it might be the feeling of finally being able to let go of one. But it feels as though a significant chapter is being wrapped up for many when it comes to a relationship pattern, a belief system in relationships, dynamics, contracts, agreements. This is the time to close them up successfully to make way for something new. But that's what I have for the lunar eclipse in Libra. I hope you have a beautiful eclipse, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Libra, welcome to the lunar eclipse in your sign. Libra, you could be a Libra sun, moon or rising watching this, and this lunar eclipse is going to feel quite significant for you, particularly the closer to 5 degrees of Libra that placement is. So if you have anything at 4, 5, 6, you'll be feeling this quite intensely. It may feel a little bit more emotional, or it might be a little bit more clear how this lunar eclipse is manifesting in your life. But to have a lunar eclipse in the first house, particularly one linked to the South Node, means that there may be changes when it comes to your physical appearance, your physical body, your personality, the way that you define yourself, your personal goals, and your approach to life. There can be changes here. For some, that can look like you're returning to your natural hair color. For some of you, it can be that you are decluttering your wardrobe, letting go of a personal style that no longer resonates with you. You may be returning to something more natural for yourself, your more natural state. It may be that you are letting go of a way of seeing the world or an approach to life in general. And this Libra may be coming through the context of the work that you do. So with Saturn being conjunct Venus, the ruler of this lunar eclipse, you may be finding that there are increased responsibilities and accountability when it comes to the work you do, the services that you provide. And you may be finding that you need to be more responsible, you need to be more committed to your day job or to your services. And this is manifesting as maybe you letting go of a particular approach or attitude to work, or maybe making some kind of self-sacrifice for work. It can actually also be that perhaps you're having to make very significant commitments to your health, whether that is that you're committing to a particular way of eating, a particular way of exercising, committing to a schedule, or taking your health more seriously for the sake of your well-being. And this may in turn affect your physical appearance, whether that is that you lose weight, whether that is that you gain muscle, whether that is that you have a skincare routine that is making you look younger or fresher. Whatever this is, it will be different for everybody. But you're making, or you're being called to make, commitments to your health and well-being and take that area of life very seriously. And that can in turn affect your physical appearance. It can also be, and I feel, by the way, that that's a good thing. It's like affecting you well. It's making you look better. It can be that you're taking certain things out of your diet that are not manifesting well in your skin, for example. Say you've been eating too much sugar, you feel at this lunar eclipse ready to give that up, and you're noticing your skin glows a bit more, or you're not as prone to breakouts or something like that. It's not, it doesn't have to be literally that. It's just an example. And it can also be that you're having to commit more to the services or the work that you do, because Saturn in the 6th wants you to commit more to your work. And you will be rewarded for that in time, but there can be harsh lessons. And you may find that you're having to commit more time, and perhaps you're having to be very upfront, because one of the ways a lunar eclipse connected to the South Node in the first can manifest is having to take off a mask, having to give up a persona that is not authentic to you. So you may be no longer as focused on presenting a certain way, rather you're more focused on being honest. You're taking off whatever mask you have been wearing to fit a certain situation. And you may also find that if you have been deceptive or deceitful, you can be exposed around the time of this lunar eclipse. Obviously that's only for a select few of you, but there can be consequences with Saturn being in the mix here, so just be mindful of that. It's best to approach things quite honestly and upfront. And I feel like that's something you're leaning towards. I tend to find with South Node transits in the first house and eclipses in the first house, it's about reconnecting with who you are at your core, reconnecting with yourself, and feeling more authentic with the work that you're trying to do, the services that you're trying to provide as well. You may also be finding that if you are self-employed, for example, you're bringing back a service that you've used before or you've provided before. Libra. Your tarot card was the Magician. So this is all about manifesting. This is about the actions that you're taking and the resources that you have in order to make something happen. So perhaps there is something coming to fruition at this time in terms of a personal goal. Perhaps you are wanting to manifest better health, or you're wanting to manifest some sort of fitness goal, physical goal, or you're wanting to be more proactive in making things happen. This lunar eclipse may give you the opportunity to manifest something, Libra, that you really, really want. And it may also be presenting you with the willpower that you need to meet a certain goal. That is what I have for you. I'll talk to you soon. Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Scorpio, this lunar eclipse is happening in the 12th house. And this is a profound moment of letting go of something. You're wrapping up a chapter. You're wrapping up a particular chapter in your life. You're closing out a cycle. You're breaking a pattern. You're letting go of something. This might be something obvious. This can be that you're leaving a job. This can be that you are letting go of a relationship. But for a lot of you, this can be incredibly internalized. This can be something you're working on behind the scenes. This can be something you're dealing with quite privately. And it may be something that is requiring you to drudge up the past a little bit. You may have a lot of feelings rising to the surface. Your dreams may be incredibly vivid. You may be releasing a lot of stored up emotions. And for some of you, this can actually manifest as feeling physically under the weather, upset stomachs, headaches, issues like that can be manifesting around the time with a lunar eclipse in the 12th. You can feel a little bit out of sorts. You may need more rest, but you may also simultaneously feel that your rest is disrupted. But your sleep patterns can be a bit more of a focus at this time. So for some, that can be sleeping more. For some, it's sleeping less. But this is a bit of a purge for you, Scorpio, truthfully, particularly because it is trining Pluto in your 4th house. You can be really letting go of some stuff, particularly from the past. It's a purge for a lot of you. And it is wrapping up a particular cycle. So this may be to do with how you feel about relationships. And, relationships don't have to be romantic. It doesn't have to be your partner or your partnerships, but it can be how you relate to other people on a one-on-one basis. And that can be friendships. That can even be in the workplace. So you may have noticed certain patterns playing out with a particular type of relationship in your life. You met the same soul over and over and over again in different bodies, and you found a pattern repeating itself. And now you're maybe getting to the root of what that is, where that feeling comes from, why that happens. And you're ready to sort of clear it all out, to wipe the slate clean, particularly because with the solar eclipse coming up in Aries, your 6th house, a lot of you might want to start new jobs, or you might want to start new routines in your life. Health, wellness may be your priority. And there is a lot of correlation between our physical health and well-being and our psychological state. So some of you can regard this as maybe cleaning house. You could be deciding that you want to go back to a therapist that you've seen before, or some sort of treatment that you've had before, in order to get to the root of an issue that is maybe repeating in your relationship life. Or some of you are just finding you're leaving something or someone in your life and you're ready to draw a line under it. The 12th house is also a place of forgiveness and unconditional love. So maybe you're ready to forgive someone, let bygones be bygones, and let it go. I will say that a lot of the tough feelings that you're having could be surrounding love, romance, worthiness in love, the ability to be loved, how lovable you are, or even your creativity, or feelings surrounding your children, or what makes you happy in life, whether you deserve to be happy, how you feel about being loved, and how lovable you feel you are. Because Venus, the ruler of this eclipse, is conjunct Saturn in your 5th house, which is love. So you may be feeling a little bit, there could be some tough feelings coming up in that area, and they might be what's being released at the time of this eclipse. And that can be to do with creativity, or it can also be doing what you love in this lifetime, how worthy you feel of being happy or having happiness in general. Scorpio could be up for review at the time of this eclipse. But it is very healing. It is very cathartic. Your tarot card was the 9 of Coins, which is the 9 of Pentacles. And this can be, we have a solar eclipse coming up in 2 weeks, and the sun rules your sector of career. The eclipse is happening in your sector of work. So you may find that a lot of the clearing that you're doing is giving you some clarity when it comes to what you want to do professionally or work-wise. Some of you may be a bit focused on doing something. I think a lot of you are actually leaving behind codependency. With this eclipse happening in your 12th house, it's a Libra eclipse. And the reason I say that is because this card is about going it on your own. And that doesn't mean you have to be romantically single. It doesn't mean that you have to work completely on your own, but it's where you feel like you would be okay if you did, more so. You have this sense of security with yourself. You feel mature enough to do it, secure enough to do it, stable enough to do it. Working on the things for yourself that only you can accomplish, that only you can be accountable for, Scorpio, seem to be coming up for review here. So some of you might be deciding you want to be self-employed. Some of you might be deciding that you want to be a little bit more self-sufficient, a little bit more independent, or you want to feel a little bit more secure on your own. Or you may realize under this eclipse that you really have grown in letting go of codependency issues, whether that is in love, friendship, work, family, whatever it is. You may feel like you have more of a stronger sense of self. Scorpio. That is what I have for you. Talk soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra. Sagittarius, for you, this is happening in your 11th house. Now, this is a lunar eclipse and it's a south node eclipse. So some of you, if you're working as part of a team, you may be wrapping up time spent working with a particular team. People might be leaving the team. People might be leaving your friendship circle. You might be leaving a friendship circle or a team, or you might be closing out a particular chapter with a group of people or with a friend. It doesn't have to be that anyone falls out. It may be that someone is relocating. But I think for a lot of you, you may also be wrapping up a particular cycle with a humanitarian effort or a charitable endeavor. This can be that maybe you reach the end of a fundraiser, you're having a particular event to raise money or to work on a charitable endeavor or for a charity or for some sort of cause. You may be wrapping up a cycle of doing so. But for a lot of you, I think this is about wrapping up maybe some codependency issues when it comes to friendships or when it comes to teams where you feel like it's a bit off balance, where you feel it's a bit unfair. You may decide that it's ready to let those type of relationships go. Similarly, you may be working on something, as this is Libra, from a legal context when it comes to a charitable endeavor, some sort of cause, or even some sort of wish for yourself, Sagittarius, or an aspiration. You may be reaching some sort of goal at this time when it comes to manifestation, because the 11th house is about wishes, goals, long-term goals and aspirations for ourselves. And so with a lunar eclipse, you may have achieved it. But for others of you, you may want to let go of an aspiration or a wish because perhaps it's not yours. Perhaps you're realizing you don't actually want something you thought you wanted. You realize it comes from somewhere else. I want to guess it may be coming from family because this eclipse is ruled by Venus in the 4th house, conjunct Saturn. So maybe you're ready to let go of a particular goal that you don't align with anymore. You realize it's more based on where you grew up, where you come from, your family, your parents, and it just no longer aligns with you. It may also be that you're reaching a goal or manifestation when it comes to a home. So Venus conjunct Saturn in your 4th house. Maybe a lot of you are moving, building a home, looking for a new home. Maybe you're starting a family. Maybe you have more family responsibilities and commitments. So you're having to step away from a group or a team. Or, for some of you, you're starting a family and you're realizing you're not going to see your friends as much, or you can't work in a particular cause that you feel very, passionate about as much. And you're focusing on your home and your family. Because for a lot of you, this can be with the North Node in the 5th, where you have kids, where you're pregnant, where you're giving birth, or where even some of you are falling in love and you're finding yourself very focused on romance and maybe less focused on your friendship. Just remember, this is an opposite axis. It's not about letting one go completely to focus entirely on another. You still have to balance them out. It's just that you may be more focused on love, creativity, passion, pleasure, joy at this time, Sagittarius. Now, interestingly, your tarot card was Justice in reverse, and this may be where you feel as though a lot of you could be leaving a group because you feel like you're being shamed or ostracized, or you feel like it's not fair, you feel like it's not just, or some of you, this actually says cancel culture on it, so maybe some of you are feeling like you're being cancelled, or you're maybe removing yourself from a particular cause or a particular viewpoint or stance or something like that. You may also be finding for a lot of you that with this being a South Node eclipse in the 11th, maybe you're forgiving an old friend, or maybe you are actually running into an old friend or an old social group, and it feels like it's a bit of a karmic reset. You're ready to let go, you're ready to forgive, or you're maybe just ready to heal from some friendship or group trauma that you experienced as a child with that Saturn in the 4th house. Maybe you are ready to let go of, or work through rather, some pain when it comes to maybe being bullied, or maybe when it comes to being betrayed by a friendship. Maybe this is the time you're deciding to look at that, Sagittarius, and it might be something that's quite healing for you in terms of new friendships and current friendships going forward. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Capricorn, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career, your public image, your profession, your role titles, the way that the world would define you. It feels as though a lot of you may be stepping away from a particular job title, a role, an industry, or the way that you're defined professionally may be changing. And, for some of you, that is that you're closing a business. For others of you, it is that you're stepping away from a particular industry, a particular line of work. You're leaving a job. Some of you could be retiring. Some of you could also be stepping away from a particular role or a particular industry or just your job for a hiatus. You could be temporarily leaving it behind. This is a partial eclipse. But I think for a lot of you, it's requiring you to leave or make changes when it comes to your career and your public life. It may also be a time when you have an announcement to make, or some sort of professional announcement to make, or something that you need to make your employer aware of, or your boss aware of, or there could be matters coming up surrounding authority. Now, the ruler of this eclipse, Venus, is in your 3rd house conjunct Saturn. So there could be, for some of you, the work matters, the professional changes could be linked to wanting to be more involved in your local community, wanting to be more involved with perhaps siblings, neighbours, cousins, with this being in the 3rd house, or just simply wanting to know that what you're doing makes sense, if that makes sense, because the 3rd house is a very sensible house. It's to do with facts, logic, and you may be finding that if your career does not make sense to you anymore, if it's not practical, if it's not logical to be doing it, you're thinking, okay, I need to take a step back from this, I need to take a step away from this. Or maybe just in terms of, your mental perspective, you're wanting to take a step back from your career, Capricorn. This eclipse is also trining Pluto in the 2nd, so aligning with values or making changes to your career from a financial perspective might be quite important for you at the moment too. If you're working a job that just doesn't make sense to you, that doesn't pay as well, you're maybe thinking, okay, it's familiar, it's secure, but it's time to move on to something else, and that's where you're focused. I will say that a lot of you with a solar eclipse coming up in the 4th house, you may be more focused on home and family matters. There could be new additions to your family. You could be wanting to move home. You could be wanting to purchase a house, or you could be growing your own family, and that's requiring you to put more focus on that area of life, Capricorn, which is requiring you to take a step back from your career. Now, your tarot card is the Lovers. So with this being a lunar eclipse, the moon rules your 7th house of relationships. There could also be things coming up when it comes to your relationship, particularly your partner's career or your spouse's career. There could be significant changes happening there. Or maybe for some of you, you are focusing on a key relationship in your life and it's taking you away from your professional life. Or you're more looking for a career that you truly love, that you truly feel aligned with, that you truly feel is in harmony with the direction that you are going in, Capricorn. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Aquarius, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 9th house, and the 9th house is quite broad by definition. So I'm going to give you a few examples of how this could be playing out. Firstly, this can be to do with travel and foreign locations. Now, the moon rules your 6th house of work. So some of you may be traveling a lot for work. You might be traveling a lot for your job. You may be making plans to travel around this time, or you may be perhaps actually traveling at this time. There may be something familiar about it. So you might be going to places where you've been before. It might also be that you're going to places and you're feeling this eerie resonance, this deja vu feeling, because South Node in the 9th can be traveling to places where we have past lives, and we can feel a little bit of karma coming up when we go there. So you may have unusual experiences if you're traveling under this eclipse. It may also be for some of you that this is to do with your higher education, whether you're getting a degree, a master's, a PhD, or you're even leaving university prematurely, so before it ends. You might be stepping away from a course, a particular area of study. So say you're studying pharmacy and you're feeling, okay, I no longer resonate with this degree. You're deciding I'm going to study law instead, or something like that. You might be changing your academic status, or you may be actually getting that degree, that diploma, or that course of higher education. For others of you, this can be about your worldview, your perspectives, your own personal philosophy, your religious views, your faith. For some of you, it can be returning to a belief system you used to have, and for others of you, it can just be leaving behind a belief system altogether. And some of you may be having a little bit of a crisis of faith at this moment. You're not so sure what to believe in, but you may be drawn to learning more about a different religion, a different culture, a different belief system, or something like that, Aquarius. The ruler of this eclipse is Venus in your second house, conjunct your traditional ruler Saturn. So in all of these cases, it's about doing what's best for you financially, where you can commit to something financially. So maybe you're thinking, I want to travel to this country. It would actually mean a lot to my soul to travel here. So I'm going to put a savings plan in place. Or you're thinking, if I move to this country, I will be in a better position financially. Or you're thinking, I'm going to follow this belief system because it matches my values. Is what I would see, Aquarius. Your tarot card is the Two of Wands, which is about travel. It is about considering the next steps, considering the next path. It is about considering your options, visualizing the future. And this eclipse, it is happening at a degree of Libra that is very focused on visualization and manifestation. So it's important around the time of this eclipse to really consider what best case scenario would look like. Because this eclipse is actually trining Pluto in your first house. So you have this power that you have not had in this lifetime right now to make changes that benefit you, to really be honest and authentic. And not everybody in this life gets Pluto transiting their first house. It's actually quite rare to get. So you have power and opportunity that a lot of people will never have with Pluto in the first house to make a life that truly aligns with who you are, to go where you want to go, to chart your own course. And this may be a time when you feel like you can connect to that vision. That is what I have for you, Aquarius, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Pisces, this is happening in your 8th house. And so this brings up matters of a financial nature. Now the 8th house is where we benefit financially from someone else or something else. So this can be the money that you get from the government. This can be money that you inherit. This can be money that comes in from your spouse. So for some of you, this can be that you're getting a mortgage, you're getting a loan, you're getting something on finance. For some, it's an inheritance. For some, it is to do with taxes. You could be wrapping up a particular cycle here. So that means that you could be, if you've been trying to get a mortgage, you get approved, or you've been looking to get a loan, you get a loan. Or it can also be that because we have a new moon solar eclipse coming up in your 2nd house, you're becoming more financially independent. So maybe you're not relying on someone else to support you anymore. Maybe you're not relying on a spouse or the government to support you anymore because you're making more money independently. But it can also be that perhaps you are letting go of something psychologically. So the 8th house can be very psychological. It's ruled by Pluto. Your 8th house is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in your 1st house. So I feel as though a lot of you are tackling maybe something from a psychological nature that you're looking to heal. You're looking to break a pattern. You're looking to break a repetitive cycle. You're looking to transform and change something in order to have better. And this can be relationship trauma that you're processing. You could be dreaming of exes, you could be thinking of the past, you could be thinking of patterns, you could even be hearing from exes, with this being a Libra 8th house eclipse. Or you could be letting go of a particular pattern in your relationships, maybe surrounding your value in relationships, because as I said, this is ruled by Venus in your 1st house conjunct Saturn. So at instances with this eclipse, you could be realizing where you've been dealing with low self-esteem, low self-worth. There could be triggers coming up surrounding your worthiness, your attractiveness, your value. And you may also be finding that you're investing in your appearance, whether that's that you're committing to the gym, whether that is that you're committing to something cosmetic. With Saturn being in play, maybe a lot of you are getting work done on your teeth or your bones, your bone structure, or your general well-being. You're more committed to your health, and it's going to manifest physically quite well for you with the Venus-Saturn conjunction. You know, Venus is exalted in your first house. Conjunct Saturn, the commitments you're making to your physical health are going to manifest quite well. But you can also be finding that you're needing to work on the internal too, where, you know, Saturn traditionally rules your 12th house. You're working on self-limiting beliefs, something psychologically that makes you feel like you don't deserve the best. Can be something that's happening for you, Pisces. Maybe letting go of old, as I say, relationship wounding or something like that, or your value in relationships, or your value to receive from others could be coming up as well. Wounding surrounding that could come up to be cleared. Now, interestingly enough, your tarot card was the Ace of Cups, which is very emotional, and the 8th house is quite an emotional house, even if you're dealing with it privately. But this is overflowing love. It can be new romance coming into your life. Because this is a South Node eclipse, it could be someone from the past in a new way, but it could also be, because I have seen this happen a lot with South Node energies, it can be connecting with someone that you very clearly have a past life with. They feel familiar. You get a sense of deja vu. You get a sense of I've known you before. That kind of energy could be coming up. So there could be new love that feels like old love, or it can be someone from the past in a new way. But the South Node tends to give a bit of past life energy to this. Pisces, with Venus and Saturn in your first house, Venus ruling this eclipse, I do feel like there could be perhaps the potential for new love that is in some way kind of karmic. That doesn't mean it has to be bad, but it just can be that maybe you're wrapping up a cycle with a new person or something like that. That is what I have for you, Pisces, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Aries, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Aries, this is happening in your partnership and relationship sector. Now, this can manifest quite differently depending on where you're at with your relationship status. But for some of you, this could be the ending of a relationship. It could be that you're walking away from a relationship, maybe because something was kept hidden from you, maybe a secret comes out. Maybe something is revealed that changes the way you feel about your relationship or whether you can bring it forward, if it's maybe not long-term sustainable. For others of you, you could actually find that out of the blue, your partner wants to commit deeper. So this can be an engagement. This can be an offer to move in with each other. This can be getting married as well, because lunar eclipses in the 7th house tend to change your relationship status in some way. And it can also be for some of you that you meet somebody, and if you meet somebody, it may feel familiar. If it's someone new, you may feel like you've known them before, or it can actually be that you reconnect with someone from the past and it is going to be some kind of relationship going forward. Now, it'll be differently for all of you, but I do feel that a significant change in your relationship life is likely to occur. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can actually be a best friend, or it can be a business relationship that undergoes a change at this time that maybe you let go of, or maybe there's an ending, or maybe there's some sort of peak culmination and a point of experience in the relationship that you remember forever, especially if you have your placement at 5 degrees, Aries. So if you're an Aries ascendant and you have your ascendant at 5 degrees, you're likely going to be feeling this quite significantly. The ruler of this eclipse, Venus, is in your 12th house of what is hidden, which is why I have said that you may discover something you didn't know about a partner, whether that is something that is upsetting with the 12th house, you know, a hidden enemy energy, or whether it is that they were ready to surprise you with something. Again, it depends. But I feel as though for a lot of you, this is about whether or not the relationship is worth committing to with Venus next to Saturn, whether it can be worked on, whether it can grow, whether it can progress is very important for a lot of you, whether it has a future too with the trine to Pluto. And if it doesn't have a future, a lot of you might be deciding it's time to let it go. Now, your tarot card was the 3 of Wands, which is a beautiful card. It's about manifesting and leveling up. So maybe for some of you, you are actually developing a relationship to a new level of commitment, or maybe for some of you, you're ready to find better for yourself. And that doesn't mean that there's something inherently wrong with the person that you're with. It can just be that you're ready to find something that matches where you're at now or what you want, or you're ready to, for some of you, manifest love that makes sense to you on a soul level. That's what I have for you, Aries, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Taurus, this is happening in your 6th house. And the 6th house is very focused on your physical health and your well-being. So for a lot of you, this may look like changes in your day-to-day routines and your personal habits. So what you're eating, the exercise that you do, if you do, what you do in your day-to-day basis, the systems you have in place, how you organize yourself. And because it's ruled by Venus and Venus is in your 11th house, it may feel as though you're ready to commit to some kind of goal for the long term. You have a wish, you have a hope, you have an aspiration. And this may be something to do with work. It could be the work that you do or the services you provide. Maybe you want to put your work online. Maybe you want to put your work out there for the world, or you have a particular job that you really want. And this might require you to make some kind of sacrifice or, let go of the job that you do have to take this one that you really want. Or it could be that you have maybe even a fitness goal that you want to achieve, and that's going to require you to put in place different habits, to eat differently, to exercise differently, or any goal that you do have, you may have to make some changes in your day-to-day schedule and your routines. Maybe you have to sacrifice something that you do in your day-to-day to accommodate this future vision that you have. It's kind of as if you have to change what you're doing day to day to shape your future. Because although the 6th house feels kind of mundane in its essence, it's your day-to-day habits, your routines, it does inevitably shape your future. So if you have a goal, if you have a wish or an aspiration that the Venus-Saturn conjunction in your 11th house is calling you to commit to be responsible for, to be accountable for, you're probably going to be changing your day-to-day routines. Now, that can be that you're actually changing your job as well. You could be leaving a job behind. People in your workplaces, particularly women, can be leaving where you work, your place of work, your place of employment. People that you employ could be leaving. You could find that your colleagues are leaving, or you could find that you yourself are leaving, or there's some sort of role change, job change, or what you do as part of your role is changing. And for some of you, it could also be the manifestation of a health or fitness goal. Some of you could also have some sort of diagnosis at this time. You could be going for a medical checkup, or you could just be finding that matters surrounding health and well-being are very important to you. And interestingly enough, this eclipse is trining Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto being in Aquarius for you is about transforming the career that you have, the reputation you have in the world, your public image. So the changes you're doing in your day-to-day are also maybe in place or the changes that you're making in your day-to-day are maybe coming into place so that you can have the career of your dreams, you can show up in the world the way that you want to, and that you can have recognition in the long term that you really want. I do feel like for a lot of you, because this is South Node based, that you're probably having to give something up. So whether that is that you're giving up something you eat or you're giving up something you do in a day to make room to focus on this goal, this aspiration, or to meet this target, I feel as though there may be some degree of sacrifice involved, but it's going to pay out in the long run, Taurus. Your tarot card was actually the Ace of Wands, which is really cool because this is a new beginning card. And we do have a solar eclipse in Aries coming up in your 12th house. I feel like a lot of you are really ready to clean up. Like you're cleaning up certain parts of your life. You're ready to let some things go to accommodate the new. You're very focused on your healing. You're very focused on your well-being. And a lot of you are going to notice going into Aries season that there's something that you're very passionate about, you're very driven to do, you're very attracted to. I feel like it's a goal. I feel like it's something for your future, but you're getting your spark back. And I think it's linked to the solar eclipse in Aries because it's a solar eclipse, but you're feeling with this full moon maybe that you're clearing some things out diet-wise or making changes exercise-wise that are giving you a lot more energy. Taurus is one thing that I'm seeing for you, an increase in energy after this eclipse because of the clearing out that you're doing. That's what I have for you. Talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Gemini, this eclipse is happening in the 5th house, and there's a lot of different ways that this can play out. It is a lunar eclipse, and that usually coincides with a peak manifestation, a culmination of energies, or it can be about letting go. The South Node element to this is more indicative of letting something go, wrapping up a cycle, particularly a karmic cycle. So there could actually be breakthroughs around the time of this lunar eclipse. And they may be changing your perspectives. They might be changing your view of the world because of the trine to Pluto in your ninth. Now, this can be that there is some sort of peak manifestation or wrapping up of a cycle when it comes to one of your children. It can be that there's something significant happening in the lives of one of your children around this time. It can also be that perhaps some of you are finding out that you're pregnant, or some of you are finding out that, or maybe some of you are giving birth. It can also be that some of you are considering your feelings surrounding the concept of having children, or for some of you, it can be processing some childhood trauma or thinking about your childhood, maybe seeing it differently with that trine to Pluto, sort of reframing things, processing things, integrating things pertaining to your childhood can come up as well. Now, this can be nothing to do with children. This can actually be to do with the things that you love, the things that bring you joy. And maybe there's something in your life that doesn't bring you joy anymore. You're just not feeling aligned with it. You're just not feeling as though it's making you happy. This could have been a hobby of yours. This could have been a creative project. And the fifth house does center around creativity, but creativity doesn't have to be picking up a paintbrush or writing a song. It can be creating solutions. It can be creating the future. It can be creating all sorts of things. And your feelings surrounding your own personal creation may be up for review. Whether you feel like you're an active participant in creating the next best thing for your life. But this eclipse is ruled by Venus in your 10th house conjunct Saturn. Now, Saturn has been in your 10th house since March 2023. And the Venus-Saturn conjunction may be pushing you to commit to something when it comes to your career. Saturn in the 10th house is quite important as a transit because for some, it is retirement. For others, it is beginning a career path where you're going to have to be very responsible and accountable. It can bring up feelings and emotions surrounding accountability, surrounding responsibility when it comes to career, carving your own path, making a name for yourself, and it tends to be a big part of your story, your professional titles, and what you're working towards. And that can feel restrictive at times. It can feel challenging at times, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. And this Venus-Saturn conjunction is saying, do you feel a sense of love and creativity in your career, or do you feel as if something has died? Something's not making you happy anymore. This is a time to start letting go of a few things that are getting in the way of your happiness or your creation. So that can be you're doing many creative projects. Maybe one of them has to go. It's just you can't balance them all at the same time. Maybe you have a lot of hobbies and you're thinking, I have no time for this. I have no time for this, that, or whatever. Maybe you have a lot of hobbies and you find that it's taking away from your career, or you find like you're always at work and it's taking away from your romantic life. This can also be your attitude towards dating, people you're romantically involved with. Maybe some of you are healing from a heartbreak. Maybe some of you are stopping a romance in your life because you don't see it going any further. You don't see it having long-term potential. Interestingly enough, your tarot card Gemini was the Three of Swords. So I feel as though this lunar eclipse in the 5th, you might be identifying a pain within you, romantically speaking, or just in terms of love in general. It doesn't have to be romantic love. It can be platonic love. It can be familial love. It can be love of what you do professionally. I think you might have some emotions to process. I think you might have some tears to shed. Eclipses can be very emotional. And you might have some things to integrate. You might just be feeling kind of sad. You might just be feeling kind of disillusioned or depressed for a while around this eclipse. Obviously, if this is an ongoing issue, do seek help for it. I just get the sense with this Three of Swords, you might be feeling a bit sad at times about something, or you might be feeling a bit of a loss about something in your life, or you could just be finding yourself simply feeling a little bit more emotional than usual, Gemini. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Cancer, you're ruled by the moon. So a lunar eclipse comes around and you may be feeling a little bit exposed. You might be feeling a little bit more emotional. You might be feeling a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more fragile than usual. This eclipse is happening in your 4th house of your home life, your private life, your family, And so there could be changes going on there. You could be finding that perhaps you are selling a home, moving. I mean, you would already know this if this is the case, but some of you may be moving, some of you might be selling your home. Some of you might actually be moving somewhere you used to live. That's a potential because this is a South Node eclipse. So moving back somewhere. Some of you may be considering visiting your homeland if you live somewhere that is abroad from where you grew up. Some of you may be wanting to spend more time with family. Some of you might also be potentially distancing yourself from family if you feel as though the relationship is not healthy. That's only for a select few of you. But some of you could find that home, family matters are all coming to your attention. You might learn something about a family member that you didn't know. A lot might come to the surface. And you may find at this time that you're a little bit more emotional or potentially kind of a bit more psychic at this time, Cancer. Now, this is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in your 9th house, conjunct Saturn. So a lot of you, when it comes to your worldview, when it comes to your religious belief systems, your spiritual belief systems, or maybe when it comes to your concept of travel, I do think for a lot of you, you could potentially be moving abroad because this is ruled by a 9th house placement. You could be moving abroad or you could be considering moving abroad, Cancer. But for a lot of you, you could be finding that when it comes to your family, there are maybe different belief systems coming up. There's maybe different political beliefs coming up. There could be different viewpoints coming up for review that maybe you didn't know about, or maybe a family member is moving abroad, or maybe a family member is bringing something to the table religiously speaking that you didn't anticipate. So say they've suddenly converted to a new religion or something like that is actually possible at this time. I know that's kind of specific, but maybe that's not for everybody. I'm just pulling the themes together so that you can sort of get an idea of how they might play out. But I feel as though when it comes to your home, when it comes to your family, the changes and the different themes that might be playing out could be through the context of travel, foreign locations, viewpoints spiritually, viewpoints politically, or even education. So some of you might be moving homes or considering moving homes because of education. Maybe you're going to university in a different state, in a different country, or something like that. Those could be playing out. But it is mostly happening in the context of home and family, Cancer. These different things are playing out. There could be something coming up with a sale of a house. There's a trine to Pluto in the 8th. So maybe getting a mortgage for a house, a loan for a house, paying off a mortgage, paying off a debt when it comes to your home, or when it comes to a family member, maybe something is being revealed to you that you didn't know. Your tarot card was the High Priestess, which is all about inner knowing, diving deep, illumination. So secrets may come out at this time, whether they're your own or whether they're the secrets of someone around you. You might be finding that you're dealing with people who are quite psychic at this time or quite intuitive, or you may be finding that there's a lot coming up in your dreams that are revealing your subconscious mind. Some of you may be feeling, as I say, a little bit more psychic, a little bit more intuitive, and many of you may be more connected to mysteries or the occult at this time as well, Cancer. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. Leo, this eclipse is actually happening in your 3rd house. So it feels as though communication is the main theme that's happening here. It may be that there's something that you need to say, something that you need to get off your chest, something that you need to explain, something that you need to clarify at the time of this eclipse. There could be something you really need to say. And because this eclipse is ruled by Venus in the 8th, maybe this is a secret that you have to share. Maybe this is something transformative or a personal crisis that you have to share. Or it could be that news is being shared to you or communicated to you about someone else's personal crisis or someone else's finances, potentially, because Venus conjunct Saturn in the 8th house can be about some sort of financial commitment, maybe your partner's resources, government funding, inheritance. Those matters could be coming up when it comes to communication. So maybe your partner has something to tell you about the mortgage, or maybe you're learning something about the mortgage, or perhaps you're getting some sort of news or communication surrounding a loan, a grant, financing, or something like that. But it feels around this time you may have something to share, you may have something to express, to get off your chest, to explain. There can also be matters coming to the surface with siblings, with neighbours, with cousins, extended family. Something may be coming up there where maybe your sibling is having a baby, maybe your sibling is getting married, maybe your cousin is inviting you to their wedding. Maybe some of you are leaving behind a relationship, or even healing a relationship with a sibling or a neighbour. You could be letting go of codependency issues with a sibling or a neighbour, or an extended family member, where maybe you feel like you've been leaning on them too much, or you feel as though you've been needing too much from them. For some of you, this can also be changes in your internet activities. Maybe you're limiting your social media, going on a social media hiatus. Maybe you're wanting to say less on a matter, or you're wanting to, finalize a communication and say, this is it, we're wrapping this up, we don't have to talk about this anymore. Just clearing the air so that you can be free to do what it is that you need to do. Some of you may also be willing to discuss something very private to you that you have never talked about before. So that could be discussing it with a therapist or someone in your family, but maybe you feel as though you're ready to talk about something that you have not been ready to talk about prior because of the connection to Venus and Saturn in the 8th. It could be talking about a personal crisis, a trauma, or you may even actually find that you have a message to convey through the occult. Maybe you have a life-changing tarot reading or a life-changing perspective when it comes to your birth chart. You just feel a little bit like, oh, okay, this is starting to make sense in my head. I can let this issue go. I can bury this. I can let this be. And this eclipse is also trining Pluto in your 7th house. So you may feel with what it is that you have to communicate. You're supported by a partner, you're supported by a best friend, you're supported by a business partner, but you're feeling as though you're, I think supported by somebody else, or you're maybe wanting to communicate something to a partner and it maybe goes a bit better than expected, Leo. Your tarot card is the Moon, which is about the subconscious. It's about our intuition. You may feel a bit anxious around the time of this full moon. You might feel a little bit uncertain or unclear. That's perfectly natural because we do have to surrender a little bit to eclipse season. And as a fixed sign, you may find that difficult. I feel like there could be matters that are revealed, whether that's from yourself or whether that's from someone else. I feel as though something is being discussed that has perhaps been buried, swept under the rug, hidden. And now may be the time that this information is coming to the surface. That is what I have for you, Leo, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to the lunar eclipse in Libra for your sign. So Virgo, this lunar eclipse is happening in your 2nd house of finances. So your income, your values, your money. So there may be some sort of financial change around this time. And that can be because you are deciding that you need to make a financial change. So maybe you're realizing, okay, my spending has got a bit out of control, or I'm buying too much of this, or I don't need to be buying that, or you're noticing your relationship to the material, and I think you're ready to let some things go. Some of you may actually be letting go of a source of income. You might be saying that this is not sustainable anymore, or for whatever reason, you're letting go of one particular way of making money. Or it can be that you have to make a big purchase. Maybe you're spending a lot of money on something at this time and you're having to say bye-bye to that money because it's going towards something else. But for a lot of you, Virgo, this is bringing up your relationship to money, and if you feel like you need to make changes, particularly through the lens of where you feel like your self-esteem is dependent on what you possess, the material. So maybe you're realizing that you spend a lot of money when you're feeling insecure, and maybe you spend it on makeup, or you spend it on shoes or hair or whatever it is. And there's no judgment towards those type of things. It's just that I think for a lot of you, you may have a goal with a partner, because this is ruled by Venus in the 7th. You may have a relationship goal, say a marriage or a honeymoon or a wedding or something to spend money on later that's requiring you to stop spending on something else in the meantime. Or it could be that perhaps you're letting go of a particular value that you thought was very important to you at the time, but it is not so much now. And maybe that's changing the type of relationship that you go for, or changing the type of person you date or commit to. You may be letting go of a particular value that no longer makes any sense for you. So say you always really wanted to marry someone who was I don't know, just you maybe had a particular preference when it comes to people you were in relationships with, and that's changed because what you want changes. And with Saturn in the 7th, you're taking your relationships very seriously. So it's not about compromising values that are important to you. It's more about letting go of the ones that don't make any sense for you anymore. So perhaps, as I say, you're letting go of a particular want because you've met someone who ticks 9 out of 10 boxes and that one want was not necessary. So this is ruled by Venus in your 7th house conjunct Saturn. A lot of you could be making relationship commitments, committing to a partner, getting engaged, getting married, buying a house with someone, having children with someone. There's commitments in your relationship sector. Or there are relationship commitments coming up. If you're single, maybe you're meeting someone and this is changing your financial habits because you're realizing, well, we want to buy a house, we want to go on honeymoon, so I need to stop spending money on X, Y, Z or something like that. This is just examples so that you can see how it could play out. It doesn't have to play out exactly as that, but it does feel like your finances are changing, Virgo. And interestingly enough, there's a trine to Pluto in your 6th. So for a lot of you, you may be getting more power when it comes to your workplace. You may be getting a position of authority. You may also be experiencing power struggles with someone that you work with, a colleague, an employee, or you may be making significant changes when it comes to your health and your routines. And this is supporting your financial sector or your values. Maybe you're noticing power struggles play out and you're thinking, okay, well now I know what does and doesn't matter to me in terms of the people I associate with. Or you have a change of position in the workplace that's maybe giving you more money, or you're making more money, or you're willing to perhaps change your perspectives when it comes to the work that you do in order to accommodate your new role. So that can be that you're someone who likes to be on time as a Virgo. You like to be on time, but you're maybe managing people who are not always on time, and you're having to say, well, they do a good job, so I'll forgive them for the lack of time responsibility. I'll just make allowances for this, that, or whatever, because it's not the most important thing in the world, if that makes sense. It may be to you, that again could just be an example that doesn't make sense for you, but it may be that you're having to make some changes in terms of what you're expecting from others, Virgo, in the workplace. So your tarot card was the Queen of Coins, which is the Queen of Pentacles. And this is very you. So I'll read you out the characteristics. Impeccable taste, business savvy, prosperous, organized, grounded, nurturing, detailed, caring, realist, and classy. So you may be finding that these are the values that matter to you. Perhaps being organized, being grounded, being caring, being realistic. These are the values that are important to you. And ones that you may be looking to let go could be someone who has they're very, very outgoing, for example. You might just be letting go of certain qualities in a partner that don't matter as much as the main ones that are important. Or it could be that perhaps you're letting go of a need to spend money to be these things. You're realizing that you are these things. You're realizing that you are classy and your energy is carrying you in a way that maybe that new pair of shoes won't, Virgo. And that's why you're willing to let them go and say, I'm not going to spend my money on this anymore. Do some financial clearing out. You might also be clearing out some items that you own as well. You might be doing a declutter of your material possessions, Virgo. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon.